But to ask, there's a beautiful raw dog quote that opens the story. When did you know that that was the right quote for this story? And who, I don't know whose idea is a fair question, because I'm assuming it's both of you coming together and agreeing that, yes, that is a good quote that has some special resonance, both, I'm assuming, both for you and for the story. Josh?
Yeah, definitely. There was actually one of a number of quotes. Like that one I had been aware of. I can't remember who found it, is the honest to God truth. So I'll just say Dawn. But, but the truth is, we've been with this project for a long time, and one of its many lives was it started as on Kickstarter. And in the infancy of the campaign, we were populating its page with quotes from lots of sources, lots of literary sources, lots of our childhood favorites. What did they have to say about the show, the themes that our book was centering on. And Roald Dahl has been a favorite of both of ours for a long time, and that quote has sort of it became emblematic during that period. It got the most likes on Instagram. It's like, and it's yeah, I just think it he as a creator, obviously, but that specific set of words just started to speak for the book so early on that it was sort of inseparable. I'm so glad that it's actually part of the printed version.
Yeah, and I think also, just to speak to that, it kind of encompassed the theme, and I think something that Unicorn and in addition to Source is kind of about for us, which is sort of like magic existing in the real world, and what is that, and is it something that's just about awareness, like you have to be aware to sort of see it, and how is it defined? And I had an experience that kind of launched the Source where my heart went into atrial fibrillation, and I had to get shocked back into rhythm. And after that experience, I was going through a lot of like anxiety and just all these like panic attacks and all that stuff I'd never dealt with. And obviously the medical establishment just wants to give you drugs to deal with that. And I'm 12 years sober. I don't want to take drugs for anything. This is probably about 12 years ago, one of the things that led to my sobriety. But when I was going to do yoga and do like things like that to try to meditate and do something to sort of relieve the sort of massive amounts of tension and anxiety that had come from this experience, and a trauma, whatever you want to call it, PTSD, whatever you want to call it. And I went to get a massage, and the person that was usually there to do massages is Golden Bridge Yoga here in LA. It's like it was like a yoga, but there was also other little tea places and stuff, and they're like a little mall for yoga. And they're like, oh, the hot stone massage person's not here, but the Reiki master is. And I was like, well, what's Reiki? They're like, oh, it's like acupuncture without the needle. And I was like, well, I heard acupuncture was cool. I hadn't had that at that point. I've had a lot of it since, but I was like, I'll try it. I would have tried anything. They were like, we're gonna put tinfoil on your head. I would have been like, let's do it. And I went into this room, and this woman didn't touch me, just held her hands like over my body. And I felt more relief and tension release from that hour than anything I had tried, including drugs, to that moment. And it freaked me out, because I was always the guy that, like, if a girlfriend was like, let me read your aura, I would be like, whatever. I'm science-based, that was my sort of background. And my brother's a mathematician, so I'm not a guy who really was like into new agey stuff at all. And it was so much, my wife at the time, she was 6 months pregnant with my daughter. And I was like, what are you doing tomorrow? She's like, oh, I'm being pregnant, I guess. And I was like, you're going to this person, and you're going to do this because I want to know that I'm not crazy. And she went to this person, and she was like, I was like, what was it like? And she's like, it was like I was on Mars. And it's something that, like, we discount. Like, I was one of the guys that would discount it, but there's something there. There's something that's happening that we can't define or quantify. And that, to me, is like a modern example of magic. And it just got me thinking about, what have we forgotten? Because I read this book also by Candace Pert. She was it's called Molecules of Emotion. And it was about her being part of the team that won a Nobel Prize. I think she actually didn't get part of the nomination, but she was definitely part of the team for discovering the ganglia along the spine that release the chemicals that serotonin, dopamine, all those things that could give us our emotions. And she talked about how when they announced the research, like, oh, we found these ganglia along the spine that release these chemicals. She said this old Indian man showed up at her office and was like, hey, can I see where you have these ganglia mapped out? And she like laid it out on the ground and on the table. And he took a 3,000-year-old Sanskrit scroll of the chakras and he laid it out over top these ganglia, and they lined up perfectly. And I was just like, wow. So we needed an electron microscope and dissection to find things that 3,000 years ago they just knew of from their senses. So it just, that to me was part of the journey of the source, which then turned into the journey of Unicorn, was that sort of, we write about what we don't understand, and I wanted to understand more about this thing that I found incredibly fascinating, but also part of me was like, is it real? So that was kind of the journey.
Well, that is a perfect transition to a question that I ask every guest that ever comes on this show.
Okay.
And Joshua, we'll start with you. I always ask, have you ever seen a flying saucer and or a ghost?
Flying saucer, no. And it's an unfortunate no, with many hours of trying logged, many earnest hours of sky gazing without UFOs. Ghosts, without being taking up too much airtime, yes, but not in any of the instances in which I would have expected or wanted. I've been lucky enough to write horror content most of my screenwriting career, so I've been on ghost hunts and in seances, and have yet in any of those experiences to have something like truly shockingly revelatory happen in my presence. I've been in the presence of people for whom things have happened, but in my own, and both are sort of cloaked in that like weird cocoon of memory and mismemory. We're both when I was a kid, but I did have two experiences, very powerful experiences when I was younger with ghosts.
So you're 100% on board that there's, if not an afterlife, something to this whole ghost thing.
There's something to this whole ghost thing. That is exactly how far out onto that plank I tend to walk. There is something, I don't know what, but there's something more than we understand, more than I understand.
Does that not fill you with greater caution when you're thinking about going on ghost hunts or going after research for horror stories?
You'd think, right? You'd think it would. You know, this is the point my wife has made repeatedly, but no is the more honest answer. It has made me more steadfast and more curious, sort of more eager for that kind of affirmation. So I'm dumb is the takeaway here. That's the subtext that we've been mining.
Now you're gonna find the next great screenplay. It's out there. Dot, same question to you. Have you seen a flying saucer and or a ghost and or both?
You know, when I was in Boy Scouts in camp, we saw a Russian satellite burning up in space, and it's the most beautiful thing I've probably ever seen. It was like someone painting the sky with light. But as far as like a UFO, have not. I did see a crazy post on TikTok recently where they had like these coordinates for this place north of LA. It looked like this kind of Millennium Falcon like thing, and they said it was like a portal to another planet. And then on the Google Earth, you can see tanks parked in the desert around it. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I was like, this got to be not real. And I put the coordinates into my app, my Google Maps, and sure enough, it's there. And I actually did. It's north of LA, so I did the driving directions, and it's 3 hours and 17 minutes. And I was like, tempted. So maybe I'll go Josh into the drive, and we'll let you know how it goes. But no, I do believe there's aliens and or they come from another dimension or whatever. And I have friends that do documentaries on this stuff, and I've had conversations with people who absolutely believe it. I think it's true. I'm more shocked by the indifference of the world when they announced there might be aliens than I am with the fact there might be aliens. The fact that people are like just continuing about their daily lives when they're like, yeah, they're probably aliens. The Pentagon says that. We're like, you know, it's not like, you know, when Orson Welles did it, it was causing mass hysteria. Now people are like, whatever, you know, pass the soda. I don't know. So, but direct experiences, I don't delve in horror. I'm not as brave as Josh. I try to stay away from it. I'm producing one horror film now with CG Entertainment that did Parasite, but it's not a space I live in or spend a lot of time in. I think because it scares me. So that's the short answer. But do I believe in that stuff? Yeah. Have I experienced it directly? Not directly. So.
If you drive out the 3 hours and get sucked into the rift, I mean, that headline writes itself, right? Off of the rift, get sucked into the rift.
That's why I take Josh with me, you understand? So he goes first.
Right. No, I live to tell the tale. I live to propagate your mythology, Don. And that's my role.
I think I'll let you have the experience, Josh. I don't want to take it from you, man. I don't want to take it.
We can't both get sucked in. Somebody's got to stick around.
I'm with Rob here. I'm really with Rob. Someone's got to be outside the vortex. It's very
odd. We'll find a third party to come with us.
Until Unicorn 3 is safely written in a Scrivener file someplace, you guys can't both go someplace together.
That's true. That's true. Until that's on wax, we can't do it. So